Hi, in the version 2.1 Honkai Star livestream, it has been revealed that we will be getting Luocha as the rerun in the first phase. For those that have seen my 2.1 pool value analysis video, sorry for the misinformation. I was basing that video on old information available at that time. But back to this video. Luocha took the longest time to get a rerun, making it about 9 months to finally make his grand return. However, since all this time has passed, is Luocha still as insane of a sustain as on release, and is he worth pulling for? Well, here are 3 reasons why you should pull for Luocha, and 3 reasons why you should not pull for Luocha. Before we start, I'll be giving away a supply pass / welcome moon / crystal card to my subscribers at 4K subs, so make sure you subscribe to enter. If you don't know what Luocha does, in a nutshell, Luocha is a 5-star imaginary unit following the path of abundance. His talent makes it so when he has 2 stacks of Abyss Flower, he'll deploy a field that heals all allies when any ally attacks. His skill heals a single target ally that can cleanse, while also gaining 1 stack of Abyss Flower. In addition, this skill also passively activates when any ally drops below 50% HP with a cooldown. And finally, his ultimate deals AoE damage while removing 1 buff from each enemy, while also gaining 1 stack of Abyss Flower. Luocha's kit is pretty simple. After all, he was our first limited sustain unit, so nothing surprising. However, with that being said, even if he was the first, there's no denying his kit definitely has some really strong points, and that brings me on to the 3 reasons why you should pull for Luocha. Number 1. Luocha's kit is very skill point friendly. Due to both his ultimate giving 1 stack of Abyss Flower and his skill with both the manual and the automatic version gaining 1 stack, Luocha is able to fully sustain your team while being very skill point friendly. In fact, in most cases, he's actually able to completely operate skill point free. So together with high speed, he's actually a very consistent skill point generator, just through basic attacking very often. Of course, being an SP generator just because you're so efficient is already insane, but we also have to mention the benefits of being so SP friendly. This means he has a very comfortable sustain that you can kinda just slot in any team, without having to worry about anything in terms of skill points. One prime example was in Baba to Lune before Sparkle's release. Since you always wanted to use 3 skill points per Lune turn, you had to use skill point positive teammates to avoid any conflicts. So naturally you put in Ting Yun and Pella, but those 2 were barely enough. Any more skill point usage would mean that Lune have to suffer. That's where Luocha comes in. Being able to straight up generate, let alone being efficient, really made Lune that much more playable. Number 2. Luocha's actual healing is so insane that it's a bit overkill. If you take a look at Luocha's numbers, you can see that his skills of attack are like most other sustains. Well, you see, normally this would be kind of a problem, but the numbers are just too high. In fact, they are so high that even a few attack substats will actually heal your units more than enough. My Luocha, running no attack boots or balls or rope with trace level 6 is actually healing almost a full HP bar. This means that the second problem that will arise with having attack scaling on a sustain, which is your sustain unit is gonna be squishy, nah, that's fine, just make him tanky. Just run HP or defense balls and suddenly, despite being attack focused, he's now also tanky, without even losing healing. Oh yeah, and I have yet to mention 2 other things. The first is that his skill can passively activate when an ally drops below 50% HP. So just by having an ally low, you can get a free heal while also gaining 1 stack of Abyss Flower. That's actually the main point of why Luocha is so SP friendly, which in turn makes his talent have a higher uptime and heal a lot more consistently. The other thing is that his skill also has a cleanse. This by itself is really nothing special, but in conjunction with his passive skill, it really makes him one of the most comfy sustains in this game. Because normally you'll be beating around the bush when this guy disables one of your allies as they take massive damage and is CC'd, but nah, Luocha just doesn't care. Number 3. Luocha's ultimate is also an insane sustain mechanism. Now, a lot of people will just gloss over his ult as just meh damage and used to get an Abyss Flower stack. But what those people don't realize is that his ult is first of all targets, but more importantly, how ridiculously cheap it is. To be more exact, it's only 100 energy, and just FYI, Fushuan's ult costs 135 and Huohuo's ult costs 140. What is more impressive is that since you can get it up really often, it means A, more talent uptime due to the Abyss Flower gang, and B, also means that you can actually contribute really meaningful enemy toughness breaks. Because his ultimate is just like any other ultimate with 60 break damage, but since he has it up so often, in practice it actually seems a lot more. Now of course, more talent uptime and more breaks is really good for sustain, however we have to take in consideration of his elements. More specifically, his break effect, which is imaginary break. And as you probably know, it delays action and slows too, meaning he actually has an insane sustain break too. making every single part about him an absolutely insane sustain unit. But that being said, Luocha is still a very old unit, and the 3 newer limited sustain units, Fushon, Ho-Ho, and Adventuring all seem to do a little bit something more than Luocha. So that brings me onto the 3 reasons why you should not pull for Luocha. Number 1. Luocha doesn't have a buff or a debuff like the other 5-star limited sustains. Let's just take a quick look. Fushon has a crit rate buff, Ho-Ho has attack buff and give energy, and Adventuring has a debuff that makes enemy take more crit damage. Then we look at Luocha, who has none. Wait, no, actually he has an attack boost on E1. Yeah, in another 180 pulls, you can get some, honestly, negligible attack buffs. Now, of course, when it comes to being a healer, Luocha is really second to none. But for most people that have high enough investment, especially in MOC or pure fiction, sacrificing some healing in return for some additional damage buff or just straight up doing damage in Adventuring's case is more valuable than just being the best healer. Number 2. Luocha is a pure healer. His sustain is the most healer's heal you can get. But that means that he actually struggles against content that just straight up one-shots you. Compared to Fushon, who has damage mitigation, Adventuring, who has a shield, meaning more total HP, and even Bailu, who has damage mitigation too. These units will actually allow your teammate to tank more than what they're actually normally capable of, because you can't just dodge the enemies like in Genshin. And in Golden Gears and Some Disaster, where in the second stage, normal enemies are near or actually straight up one-shotting you, Luocha can actually be quite underwhelming compared to other sustains. Now of course, you can always just grab blessings that prevent that, but first of all, that's luck based, and second of all, it could mean that you miss out on other important blessings. And you could always just run 2 sustains like Fushon plus Luocha, but there's no denying that Luocha is definitely much less valuable in those content. Number 3. Talking about other sustains, Luocha is just a generic sustain unit. Well, back then Luocha was actually quite highly valued because Lune needed an SP positive sustain and Kafka's team needed one too. Now that Sparkle has been released, Lune actually doesn't care about Luocha anymore, and Kafka now has a skill point positive best in slot named Black Swan. Nowadays, these top meta teams are able to substitute Luocha out for other options. He really has lost his spot, on top of also being quite late to the rerun, as honestly, let's face it, if you have Fushon or Ho-Ho or looking to get Adventuring, you don't really need Luocha. Well, that being said, I'm still gonna use him because I just love having more skill points than I actually need. Life is just more comfortable that way. As always, waifus and husbandos are always over meta. If you like him, then that's all you need to know. But some people might have ulterior motives, like joining the Otto cult because of a certain happening.